I chose the New Avengers Luke Cage, titled Town Without Pity. Part of the reason why I chose the Luke Cage is the new Netflix show that just came out. I figured I would learn a little bit more about the character and kind of compare the comic to the Netflix show, which I have started, and I'm a big fan so far. So the comic was originally published in April of 2010, and according to one website, it got 4 out of 5 stars from about 59 readers. So it was very popular, very well written, and I would agree that I would give it probably 4 out of 5 as well. It had lots of adventure, action, as well as kind of had a flashback and sort of gave you a good picture of why our character Luke Cage had a call to adventure. The comic's writer was John Arcudi. He is from Wednesday's comic, which I guess is a pretty popular comic. Second is Eric Cantine. He's the artist for this comic. He did Amazing Spider-Man. And then lastly was Chris Chuckery. He is the colorist for this comic. This comic is not part of a larger story arc. It sort of is an individual story, and this comic is one of 3 in a limited series. So unfortunately, we don't get to see the entire hero's journey in this one, but we are taken on the beginning and sort of start to see where his journey begins. So the comic begins with Spider-Man, I'm not sure, another superhero, and then we have Luke Cage here, who's going to be joining the battle against this hippo, I believe. So the thing kind of starts out, and sort of this scene shows you just his strength and ability to fight, because here we have 2 other superheroes fighting this hippo, and they're really not able to take him down until Luke Cage comes in and just destroys him. And then, we can kind of see here the story continues, and you sense a lot of sarcasm and humor. Like here we have, and this way we can still catch Judge Judy. Spider-Man's talking about, glad that finished. We were able to get that done with soon. And then Luke Cage asks him, do you ever shut up? And he's like, is that a trick question? And then we have here, next scene, we have Luke Cage is at home. Looks like he's in his child's crib, or bedroom, excuse me. It shows he's got a newborn. His wife is questioning him, asking him, why does he have to go? Etc. And this is sort of the beginning of his call to adventure. He explains that basically has a flashback and shows that he was a hero, and he was hero for hire, hence the nickname Hero for Hire. And this goes to show that Ladonis is this kid right here, and he goes to talk about how basically he tells the kid, when you pay me, you can pay me when you can afford it, when you find a job, okay? And basically what happened is the kid kind of wanted to emulate him, and he set up his own Hero for Hire business in Philadelphia, as Cage says here, and Luke just, says he has to go. There was just no question about it. So that's his call to adventure. And like most call to adventures, he leaves his home to a new city. So he goes from New York to North Philadelphia. In this scene here, we show Cage. He just arrives in Philadelphia, sees some kids on the street, and they're kind of rude to him, sort of have an attitude, and he says, hard little punks, but why not? And he talks about not a lot to lose for them. I've been there. So it kind of shows his empathy, and he could just call them punks or I mean, he does call them punks, but he could, say they're losers or this or that, and he sort of, has a heart for them because he understands that, part of the reason they are where they are is because of the situation they're in, not so much that they're bad kids. Here we show Cage. He's gone to Ladonis's hero for hire thing, and he says this wasn't a being, this was a message. Not too long after he came sitting around, and then all of a sudden we have this other character who comes in, and basically they just start fighting. It turns out his name is Hammerhead. We see Cage, them going back and forth, etc., etc. They're fighting through the thing, and basically we see here Cage says, "What happened to him? We need to get this strong." So we know that something has happened to Hammerhead to kind of increase his strength. But at the same time, we also know that Cage has just superhuman strength, which is sort of his supernatural aid. They don't really go much into the background of how he got his strength, etc., which is kind of one of the disappointing aspects of this comic, is that we don't know his history. We don't know how he got to be where he is, etc. So that's part of the downfall of this comic, but also this isn't the first comic for Luke Cage, so you would necessarily assume that they would give much of a background. Another interesting thing I found with this comic is that it's kind of cool to see a superhero who's African American. Typically you have the stereotypical white, and they have a little bit of humor related to sort of African American culture. The Hammerhead says, "You want to return to your roots, fine by me." And then we see here, Cage says, "Roots, haha, yeah, I get it," in reference to Roots, the movie about the African American slave struggle, etc. Another interesting scene here is we have Hammerhead. He makes a phone call to his boss, which we found out is Mr. Negative, which I find interesting and kind of cool how the comic you see here when Mr. Negative is talking, everything's reversed or negative. So the font is in white and the background's in black, just to emphasize his reason, or excuse me, his character being Mr. Negative, and you see here he's in black and white. And then we see here Mr. Cage. He's finally able, after the fight, he goes and meets Ladonis, sees him in the hospital, and you can just see how badly he's beaten up. And he's got 2 feet, he's got broken arms, legs, and then we see here he's kind of reconnecting with Ladonis. But then Ladonis says, "I deserve this. I deserve worse than this." And the reader's kind of confused as to why would he deserve this. And then basically we have the to be continued. We see down here. Sorry. Down at the bottom, we have the to be continued. So like I said, there's no question that Luke Cage is a hero. As we learned, a hero tends to be the main character of a story who has admirable qualities and who often but not always heads out on a quest. So that is definitely Luke Cage. His quest was to find out what happened to Ladonis and sort of avenge his friend for what he felt was partially his fault, because he never accepted the kid's money for when he was for hire back in the day. Yeah, that is the end of my synopsis. Thank you.